Selamat malam semuanya. Selamat malam.
Selamat malam.
Presiden FIF, Bapak Pemateri, teman-teman volunteer, dan para peserta yang saya hormati, puji syukur kepada Tuhan Yang Maha Esa kita bisa hadir di pertemuan kali ini. Saya Stefani Bintang, selaku moderator dan atas nama MDF mengucapkan selamat datang di acara Medan Debate Academy episode kedua, How to Win with Limited Knowledge. Adapun kegiatan yang akan kita lakukan pada hari ini adalah yang pertama, pembukaan kata sambutan oleh Presiden MDF, lalu foto bersama yang akan diambil oleh Saudari Sandra. Setelah itu penjelasan materi oleh pemateri Sir M.A. Majid Al-Kindi. Lalu setelah itu sesi tanya jawab disertai pembagian link absensi dan evaluasi oleh Saudara Yuda. Dan terakhir penutup oleh moderator saya sendiri. Bagi Sir Hotman selaku Presiden MDF, saya persilakan memberikan sepatah dua kata kepada seluruh peserta pada malam hari ini. Waktu dan tempat saya persilakan, Sir.
Baik, terima kasih. Sebelumnya, saya ingin mengkonfirmasi apakah suara saya terdengar.
Terdengar, Sir.
Baik, terima kasih. Saya akan memberikan sedikit sambutan dalam bahasa Inggris. So thank you for all participants who already registered to this webinar, Medan Debate Academy. I'm Hotma. I'm acted as the president of Medan Debaters Forum. So Medan Debaters Forum is a non-governmental organization which focuses on public speaking, actualization, and capacity for youngster through democracy and also critical thinking. So we think it is very important to spread the information and delivering all knowledge, especially about the technical and practical knowledge about debating, because we believe debating is a effective tool for spreading the critical thinking analysis, because debating empower youngsters to dare and brave to speak up and delivering their ideas to the public. So for this occasion, I would like to convey my highest gratitude to the all committees as the volunteer of the Medan Debaters Forum, and also especially to our speaker, Mr. Majid Al-Kindi from Institut Teknologi Bandung, who already committed and already delivered this valuable seminar. So we think this is very important for us to have more episodes and series in this webinar in the next occasion. And also we think this is also the great opportunity for all participants to learn from the expert, because we know Mr. Majid Al-Kindi is a respectable debater and also adjudicator who already have a very significant and outstanding achievement in Indonesia and also in the international recognition. So we think this is the great opportunity for all participants to get this knowledge. And that's why we think this is also the great opportunity to introduce our institution. So please, if you want to follow and get the more knowledge and information about our institution, you can approach us from our website, medandebaters.org, or for the familiar channel, you can access through our Instagram at Medan Debaters, because we have many episodes in the webinar, and also we have two major tournaments for this year, namely Medan British Parliamentary Debate Open and Kompetisi Debat Mahasiswa Nusantara. So I think at the end of I would like to say happy training, and also let's have some knowledge for these occasions. I think that's all that I can say. Thank you very much, and we back to the moderator.
Terima kasih, Sir Hotman. Selanjutnya kita akan memasuki sesi
Silakan
bersama
kepada
yang
Stefani.
Ya, Sir. Dengaran suaranya, Sir? Halo? Kedengaran nggak suaranya, Sir?
Kedengaran, Pak.
Ya.
Oke, saya ulangi sekali lagi. Terima kasih, Sir Hotman. Selanjutnya kita akan memasuki sesi foto bersama yang diambil oleh Saudari Sandra.
Teman-teman
Saudari
bisa on cam dulu ya biar di foto dulu. Terima kasih. Oke, mulai ya slide pertama.
Saudari Sandra sudah?
Sebentar, Saf, untuk slide keduanya. Oke, untuk slide kedua ya. Oke, udah, Steph.
Terima kasih Saudari Sandra. Selanjutnya kita memasuki, kenapa? Ya, terima kasih Saudari Sandra. Selanjutnya kita bisa memasuki sesi penjelasan materi oleh Sir M.A. Majid Al-Kindi. Waktu dan kesempatan saya persilakan, Sir.
Halo, am I audible? Apakah suara saya terdengar?
Terdengar, Sir.
Yes, terdengar.
Saya sambil share screen buat PowerPoint. Oke, apakah layarnya terlihat dengan jelas?
Terlihat, bro.
Oke, baik. Hi, just through introduction first. Hi all, I'm Kindi. I'm from ITB. I'm currently pursuing an undergraduate degree in chemistry. I'm in my last year of college. Throughout my experience as a debater, I found out that not it's not. I found out that a lot of the times the burden imposed for a debater to read is that high. So the way that I'm gonna do the seminar is that I'm gonna tell you the pointers. I'm not gonna say that we don't need to read at all. No, but I'm gonna say what are the basic things that we need to understand and how to put the pieces of puzzle together. I think that this will be helpful for you guys because in a lot of my experience, I'm not an avid reader, but I do like to I do like to watch Vox videos or like some information, but not necessarily reading the Economist article of 10 pages. So I'm gonna give you tips and tricks how to utilize your information that you know the best in this seminar, basically. So before everything else, I would just like to say that I'm not. I would just like to say that I really, really do want you guys to, if you're in varsity or if you're in high school, I do recommend you guys to actually, compete in British Parliamentary and Asian Parliamentary. I hope that Medan Debaters Forum can provide a lot of, besides training, also competitions to be platforms for people to grow. I think that debating has helped me so much in gaining a lot of experience, awards, internship, even work. I think that I really, really highly promote debating to all of you guys who are watching this right now. Okay, given that, I'm going to do this seminar. This will be full English. Questions will be at the end. If you have any questions, just write it down first, and then after that, we're going to have a question session later. Okay. If like at sometimes that my voice is not clear or anything, please let me know. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna make this quite interactive. I'm gonna make this Friday night quite enjoyable. So basically, when we see a lot of headings, right? International trade, economy, U.S. politics, criminal justice system, Middle East conflicts, Indonesian politics, we somewhat have that response of us doing like, oh my gosh, what is this? Or even in the debating chamber, basically a lot of the times the debater will shout, "Oh my God, not international relations again," right? So this is like the first response from our brain to highly contextual motions. But let me tell you what, these are the things that we are actually exposed to. And I think that I can guarantee that the higher your airtime in debating, then you're not going to be afraid at all. I mean, the higher your airtime in, for example, debating, like in my third or last year, I'm not scared at all to face international trade motions because a lot of the times we already learned the basics. So again, the key is to really be consistent and to actually stay. I think that probably in the first year, probably it's gonna be terrifying for you, but it's okay. We can learn step by step, and then later, if you have a high airtime as a debater, I think you will be like less fearful of like facing these kind of motions, right? Else before like I'm gonna tell you the like logical steps and all of that. The first things first on on handling not only a highly contextual emotion but every emotion is that you need to calm down. You cannot have direct judgments because it will shut your brain. I think I've read like in a lot of like psychological videos, a lot of the times our first gesture and our first judgment can shape our activity and can shape how our brain responds. So I think this is like a basic psychology, right? So I think that when you see these kind of motions, when the motions are like, a lot of words that you don't know, calm down. A lot of the times, if the word is that hard, people also do not know. Okay, so basically, if you see a motion, if you see a heading motion about Iran, Israel, Russia, and there are terms that you don't understand, please write the terms that you do not understand, and then kindly ask to the judges, what does this mean? A lot of the times, the ACOR will have the responsibility and the obligation for them to actually explain step by step and explain every term that is there, right? So I think first you need to really calm down. Like regardless of how easy a motion is, regardless of how like you actually could do the motion, but when you're not calm down, when you're not in the right head, and when you already say to yourself, "I'm not going to do this. This is going to be hard," then when your brain shuts down, you will not perform well. Trust me, I have a lot of experience in which that at the end of the day, when I debated, because I shut down, and then after the constructive, I was like, oh my gosh, why didn't I think of this? That way, allowing your brain to be open and allowing your brain to be receptive toward things and to calm down really open your creative thoughts, right? So that's the first thing. Secondly, is that read and understand the motion fully. A lot of the times we have really sorry. A lot of the times we actually have wait. Jelas-jelas aja kan? Halo?
Jelas, Sir.
Okay, yeah, good. Okay, sorry. A lot of the times, we actually some like motions and we have like perceptions of it, right? We have direct perceptions of it and then say that, oh my gosh, this is very hard and all of that. So please read and understand the motion fully. A lot of the times, very wordy motions also is very tricky. So we really need to calm down and just read the motion fully and understand first, right? So basically, this is really important. Please do not have direct judgments and like have this conspiracy with your brain to say that, oh my gosh, the ACOR is against me. I do not read. I don't understand anything. No. Just like take it one at a time. Okay. Okay. So in the basics of things, after that first tips, if you are serious in parliamentary debating, you still need to read. This is how I'm going to explain. So basically, you need to know what type of reader you are. Are you audio visual reader? Do you respond well to a lot of words, or you respond well to a lot of audio, or you respond well to a lot of like videography, right? You need to understand yourself. In my case, I hate to read. I do not want to read. Like a lot of the times, my seniors gave me like a compiled explanation, but like in economics article, I do not want to read that. I do not want to read foreign affairs. I'd rather go in a cafe and hang out. And I think maybe a lot of you relate, right? If you don't like to read, then what do you like? What I do is that because I'm highly extroverted, my way of trying to gain knowledge by two things. Number one, I do networking to a lot of debaters. So if I have a motion that I want, if I have motion or I have a topic, I would ask my friends. And my UI friends or my friends that comes from like socio-economic institutions such as UI and UGM will most likely respond to that with a really nice manner. So I think debating is also more about more than just competitive debating. It's also filled with a community that wants to really give you a lot of tips, and they're really kind. And I think that most likely if you approach a debater and if you want to ask something, they would most likely want to answer to you. So basically, first is because I'm extroverted, I would like to know a lot of things. I would like to ask to people, and probably debaters alumni has also worked in Kemenlu and all of the ministries, so I can ask them directly what's happening on the ground. Secondly, is that I would watch Vox videos or like videography that is really important. Like for example, the basics of U.S. politics or like other basics, right? These are really, really important. What I'm trying to say is that this seminar is not to say that you can win without any reading. No, that's like, no, you will not win any debating if you do not have any basics. So this is the thing. Then after that, the question is that what are the things that we need to understand of a motion or of a topic, right? So for example, back to basics, US politics. If we want to talk about US politics, you need to understand blue states and red states. So basically, U.S. is comprised of two main ideologies, left and right. Blue states actually are the states that are, supporting the Democrats, and red states are the ones that supporting Republican, right? You need to understand the common different ideologies. If you do not understand the difference between those kind of motions, 99%, I will say you will lose in the U.S. motions. So in debating, you need to understand that Democrat versus Republican, what are their policies, basic policies? Popular policies such as Green New Deal and Medicare. A lot of the times, all of the US politics motion only like, if although engineered time to time, a lot of the times if you have this very basic or common knowledge, you will survive. I mean, honestly, because back then in high school, I debated motion about Obama and about like Obamacare. Right now in varsity, I also talk about Medicare, which is like about the same. So I think that if you have a strong basics, no matter how you engineer the U.S. politics, you will survive. So basically, the things that I do have for example, if you actually like been to a lot of tournaments, group a lot of hard and contextual motions, U.S. politics, Middle Eastern conflicts, Southeast Asian issues, and all of that. And then you make an Excel or you make a Word for the basics of it, right? So little by little, you actually do the research. And then after that, if you actually enter a new competition, you get new infos from the invited educator. From your perspective, you add to that Excel. So everything can be succeeded with effort, right? So this is also a like a little bit of like sharing about life. If you want to succeed in something, you have to work, right? This is not a PowerPoint or a seminar to say that, you don't need to read and you can win anything. No, this is a PowerPoint to strategize without reading that 10 articles from foreign affairs or without reading that very highly like political papers, you can win to strategize, right? So basically, if you're that if you are actually, if you really like debating that much and you're really passionate about it, work hard to actually get all of the achievements and to get the acknowledgements. I think that a lot of people here can vouch to say that, at the end of the day, it's really worth it. All of your work will be worth it and will be rewarded, right? Is that make, like, for example, documents and then make your progress. I saw a lot of debaters coming from underprivileged institution to go to NUDC and win. Even like we have the first Kalimantan winner last year. We have a lot of like people breaking through the glass ceiling. The only explanation that they will say to you, what are the tips for you to actually enter, is work hard, period. That's the only thing that you will have you will do in order for you to succeed in debate and in life. So I think that that's really important, right? That is a tip that I would like to suggest because I did that and that works. So every competition I would go, I would, for example, take notes from the invited educator. So my US politics documents grew from one page when I was in my first year, 2016, and then in my 2018, it has like a lot of like 10 or 12 years. When I make that notes myself, I think that I am in a process of understanding those kind of notes. You need to do that. You cannot just collect all of the voice notes and etc. You need to make notes. You need to do that yourself. You need to write, right? So this is also for academics. You have to, your perception of the knowledge is something that you write. If you don't write it, then you don't have that perception of your knowledge. If you only have photocopies or like if you have voice notes, it won't work. So you need to work, you need to sit down, and you need to really recap all of the things, right? Again, you need to do a lot of effort. But then again, when you're passionate in it, I think that's gonna be really, really easy, and it's gonna be rewarding. Trust me. Okay, wait. Okay, so basically after that, after basics and all that, I'm gonna also tell you a little bit about framing. So these are the things that you can utilize in order for you to really win in a highly contextual motion. You need to have like comparative. I think this term is like, for example, a lot of people have used it, right? Comparative is like comparing your case with your opponent's case. Be very one of these are the angles that you can actually use. Like for example, if you are given a motion about Middle Eastern conflict, you can use the angle of comparative, like to compare, should we, for example, embargo the state or not? That's the thing. Number two is that interest of the state. Interest of the state has been used by a lot of motions. So basically, if you don't know anything, like for example, um, uh, as you ask this house would invest their time and money to actually meddle in the Middle Eastern politics. Basically, you don't understand necessarily what's happening in the Middle Eastern and in the US, but you can say in the interest of the state what's best, right? So if you want to meddle with a lot of political climate in the Middle Eastern, then the interest of the state is that, you know, right now Biden is a military, and Biden are the type of person that is very much that they don't have, like for example, isolationist policy. They are willing to trade and they want to, for example, work against China, right? So that can be framed as interest of the state at the US. So I think that interest of the state is one of the a lot of like framing that really works. Number two is that time frame or time sensitive. A lot of motions also require you to think in that certain time frame, like after independence and etc. etc. You really need to be sensitive because those time frame is not right now. In like for example, for young democracies, for a country that has been newly independent, it's not necessarily feasible for them to, for example, invest in high risk investments or work with actors that poses a high risk because they are a young democracy, right? It's different than right now because we are a fully like Indonesia. Although the democratic backsliding, we are 40, like 50 plus year independent. So like yeah, so you need to be very sensitive about the time frame. You need to also understand whether the motion is time sensitive or not. A lot of the times, motion give you words such as health crisis during an economic crisis. A lot of the times, those crises impose you and forces you to think under a under a under a brain in which that you need to chase time because it's really important. Because time sensitive means that with the delta of 1 day, for example, lives will be lost. All of the framing of that time sensitivity and time frame is something that you can use as a framing. So framing is not only to say that your argument is the important thing, but to also kick out other arguments. Because a lot of the times, other teams are also beneficial, right? A lot of the times in BP especially, 4 teams will offer you 4 benefits. It's up to the judges to actually take which one's benefit is the best. So for you to win that, you need to put it in a gold frame and to say that this is the most prioritized issue. And after that, you compare with other issues, for example. So framing is really important. The way for you to frame is, again, if you can say that we need to do this with our case because this is time sensitive, we cannot delay another day because at the end of the day, we are going to lose lives, we are going to lose a lot of money, and etc. If you frame that way, a lot of the times, judges will most likely be favorable into putting you into higher position. Or another framing that is really popular is that saying that it's a last resort. Last resort means that you have already tried other scenarios. You have already tried like, so for example, talking about like a very radical motion. So, for example, the motion is, as the United Nations, this house would sanction China for the abuse and torture of Uyghurs. A lot of the times, how to frame as the government say that this is our last resort. We have done embargoes, we have done a lot of things, we have done, like, for example, dialogues and diplomacies and talking, like meeting in the table and etc., and it does not work at all. So this is our last resort. Last resort meaning that this is our last option, that's why we need to do this. That will kick out the opposition who just said that, yeah, at the end of the day, we still can work with China, and a lot of the time, um, they will run that case. So your framing of last resort will definitely help if you did that well. Lastly, talking about actors that are in the motion. So this is a benefit. So for example, talking about as the United States, other teams are highly concentrated on talking about the benefits of the world. You need to frame as if this is what's most beneficial for the actor, which is the United States, right? So this is also a popular framing. If you want to win in a motion to say that as X or as Y, you need to really align all of your benefits into the path of the actors that you actually have to defend. So that's really important for you to do. I think that these are the, like, I don't like, there are a lot of also other framings. These are the framings that I usually use, and a lot of the time is very popular. So I think that these are the things that you can explain in a debate. I hope that, yeah, these are like the gist of it. Okay.
Oke. Terima
Okay.
kasih.
So I would like for us to do, what I would like for us to do is that a little bit of, like, exercise. So basically, yeah, logical thinking. So basically, I actually did this motion on BP, saying that with the benefit of hindsight, we also believe that it would have been better for Sukarno to join Western Bloc during the Cold War. This is a case built for opposition. So basically, this also believes that it would have been worse for Sukarno to join Western Bloc the Cold War. So basically, I'm opposition. This is the motion, right? So I think that there are a lot of questions, of course, in our head, right? Like, Sukarno at that time, Indonesian politics, climates, yeah, what is that? And then, like, Western Bloc, Cold War. So it's really tiring and taxing if your brain is like brute forcing all of this into one. So do it one by one. Okay. The first thing that is really important is the timeline, because they said that it's during the Cold War. So you need to analyze. Okay, it's when, right? When's the timeline? During the Cold War, Indonesia has not gained independence yet during the Cold War. Basically, Indonesia already did the proclamasi, but they're not de jure accepted by United Nations at that time. This is what I actually told you about, right? You need to know this kind of knowledge. You need to know when is Cold War. You need to know whether or not at that time has Indonesia been independent or not, and the stages. So these are the basic things. Again, you need to read. These are the basic things. That specific context of Cold War can also be used in other emotions of Cold War, right? So then again, reading is not at all hard. It's very much beneficial. If you don't necessarily like to read, talk with a lot of people who are smart. Find them in your surrounding. Watch videos. Okay. Then we already set our timeline and we already contextual our timeline. What's next? Okay, let us dissect one by one the key players, right? So what you need to understand is that back then, if you do not join the Western Bloc, it means that you're the opposition of it. Then you're going to join Russia, right? So because at that time the biggest blocks are those kind of two blocks. So after you know that Russia after Cold War, Indonesia after Cold War. Russia at that time is actually someone that is really influential because their military is strong enough, and the opposition, and being the opposition of Western Bloc, they have, for example, influence in the United Nations. Okay, so basically Russia have influence in the United Nations. We have not gained independence yet. So what we need to do is that we need to really, number one, we need to need votes to actually gain independence. So we ally with Russia in order for us to gain that influence in the nations. That's one logical, that is one thing that you can actually think about. Number two is that at that time, what like a lot of there were a lot of Western meddling. Western meddling means that the Western blocs, if you join with them, a lot of the times they actually pose a high risk of them coming back to you. So I think as Indonesian people, we learned this in our history. We learned that after the Dutch left, they came back again in order for them to actually, monopolize us and like colonize us again, right? I think this is also a basic history. Again, all of the people knows. There are also a lot of other Western meddling. So if you know that besides us, Commonwealth also did a lot of Western meddling. That's why a lot of countries in Africa that was colonized by the UK only has been independent since 1990s, like some countries. If you know all of those informations, you need to frame that and say that the Westerns like to meddle to the countries, right? That's why what we need to do is to ally with Russia, right? So that framing is enough for us to actually say that this is Indonesia's benefit. Then the next step is that what's Russia's benefit then? Russia is actually, well, Russia does not have allies, so I think we can also offer a lot of things to Russia. For example, number one, our geographical proximity is really close to Russia. We can offer military cooperation. We can also offer a lot of resources. So it's a like mutual benefit for both of us, right? Russia is also a country strong for military cooperation, and that's another benefit, right? So after all of these things, from not knowing anything about this, because you are not bombarded by 10 different angles, because you are doing this logical thinking and you do this one by one, you are not be brute forcing your brain into thinking a lot of things, right? So it's really important. It's really important for you to do that because our brain is not as like our brain also have like for example volumes, right? Like you need to understand yourself. I cannot brute force a lot of things from my brain, so I need to actually think this one by one. And after this, a lot of like literally, you can win as an opening government. Like, yeah, three argumentations, solid. Opening government takes it to debate, so it's really easy. Sorry, opposition takes it to debate. So basically, I think that this we just did an exercise on like how to put together the puzzle pieces, but still the conclusion is you still need to read, you still need to understand Cold War, you still need to understand like Commonwealth, who actually colonized who. Those are the things that are really easy to understand and to apply, right? So that's basically it. What I really want to do is that I want to do an interactive session so that this does not feel like me talking for the 1 hour straight, right? So I want to try a motion. As African Americans, this house would not celebrate Black History Month. So Black History Month in the United States have been initiated in 1 month in February to actually celebrate the excellence of Black people in entertainment and in a lot of sectors, right? So basically, I would give you 5 minutes basically, and then when I come back, I want to hear about ideas, right? I will not discriminate any ideas. I will be very receptive of them. But if after 5 minutes there are no response or whatsoever, we can move directly to question. Maybe some of you are not like, yeah, I need to know whether you like it to be interactive or not. So I'm gonna pause here. I'm gonna wait for 5 minutes after I come back. I hope that you guys have a lot of ideas and you guys want to speak up. Yeah. Okay. I'll pause right now.
Mr. Majid,
Yes, it's been 5
apakah
minutes.
sudah selesai,
Okay.
Sir?
Apa?
Apakah sudah selesai materinya?
Sudah. Yeah. Okay. So resume sharing. Okay. Yeah, I would like to have an interactive session with the participants. Okay. From this motion, okay. Yeah, maybe everyone's a bit shy or like they're new to debating. But here's the thing. Okay, I'm gonna do it myself. So basically, yeah, um, the importance part is that when we talk about African Americans, what we know is that they are a minority. This is also common knowledge. A lot of the times, when you have to say, when you are, for example, celebrating Black History Month, it's disrespectful because at the end of the day, they need to be celebrated. Okay, the first things first is that it's disrespectful. Why is that so? I think that everyone knows about like the shooting and the killings of Black African American in the U.S. Right? So a lot of the times, Black History Month is being an escapism for all of those wrongdoings. So basically, you send the wrong message. Wait, wrongdoings, right? Yeah. So basically, what you did is that you cover up all of the um, things that are really really bad that you did to, like, for example, African American people, and then you celebrate it in Black History Month. So that number one is that this is the escapism to all of those wrongdoings. But number two is that then logically, if you are not addressing the issues, we are actually shifting the focus of the people, right? So basically, the second harm is that you are shifting the focus of the people to what's important, right? Because what you did is that, okay, because what you did is that you are giving a celebratory tone to the things that are really bad, right? So for example, um, a lot of killings happen for African American, and then you do a Black History Month because Black History Month, the tone is celebratory, etc. So it's disrespectful, and it does not suit it very well, and it shifts the focus of the people to what's important, right? So that's the thing. So that's the explanation of it, right? This is also really important. Lastly, is that what we need to understand is what we really need to also understand is that it's very much very disrespectful, because at the end of the day, what you're doing is that you are actually giving a wrong message, right? Oh, sorry. It's not pragmatically beneficial. Why is that so? Because from the previous boxes, you need to understand that Black History Month, this is a celebration. Our objective as African American is that for us to do policy reforms, for us to do protection laws to African Americans, right? So at the end of the day, it's a mismatch solution because it's not pragmatically beneficial, and it's something that is really bad for the nation, right? Because we don't necessarily do we because we at the end of the day, uh, it actually has a solution mismatch, right? So I think that after talking about all of this, I think that you understand the logical thinking and like how step by step to actually answer in a contextual motion. Okay. Okay. So that's my session basically. I'm done all of the materials. If you want later, I can give. If there is there any questions, maybe the moderator can help. Like maybe there are some questions. Oh yeah, I saw. I didn't see the chat box. Yeah, African American interest. If you have any questions, if you're shy to talk, you can type in your question. Yeah, I'm okay in answering any type of question in like not necessarily related to the motion. If you also have a question in debating in general or anything, I can answer as the best that I could.
Bagi teman-teman yang bertanya, dipersilakan teman-teman.
I have a question. Am I audible?
Yes.
Iya.
Tapi kurang kedengeran. Gedein lagi suaranya bisa nggak?
Wait. Is that clear now?
Yes. What's your name and what do you want to ask about?
My name is Nadia. So my question's actually related to the previous slide. Can you please?
Wait. I'll resume share media. Okay.
Is related to the motion, like
Which motion? Sorry.
the second one.
This one. Okay.
It's just a little bit confused. What exactly it means disrespectful escapism all to those wrongdoings?
Okay. Okay. So basically, first, we need to understand about the context of the motion, right? The motion, like the context of African American in the U.S. is that last year, okay, I'm gonna ask to Nadia. You know what are the things that are happening last year in the U.S. for like the killings of black people and all that?
I do.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
you do, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, if you have a tragedy going on, it means that we are in a nation that is really saddened about that and we are enraged, right? If you are really mad about something and there is a parade that celebrates, that has, like, for example, a celebratory note and all of those things, it is a disrespect towards the victims and the family of the victims, because at one time you are celebrating something, while the moment for African Americans back then, the moment for African American is not celebratory. It needs to be enriched, and it needs to, for example, be proposing about policies and go to the government and talk about like policy reforms, but not celebratory. So if you're doing this celebratory, all of the Black History Month and parade, it means that you actually disrespect the people who are currently being saddened by the passing of Breonna Taylor and George Floyd. So it's really not good because it disrespects them, right? Because I think this also engages with the point coming from, I think tadi ada yang type the chat box. What is the African Americans' interest? Basically, African American interest right now, you need to frame it as if like what we are doing is doing a policy change. We need to focus on being very much strategic, and we cannot appear to the public eyes and to the government to, for example, celebrate. It means that our movement has weakened. Jadi gitu loh, kayak it's respectful, and maksudnya escapism to all of those wrongdoings adalah jadinya kayak if you do this kind of parades and then the government will, for example, support you. But then again, when the government is supporting your parade, they did not necessarily prosecute the people who are guilty. So what government and policy institution did is only an escapism. Cuman yang kayak I will escape from my duty to find people who killed Breonna Taylor by just donating a lot to the parade and to the celebration. So it will be escapism for a lot of people, and it's not good, because what we need to do right now is to talk about it, to strategize, and to not celebrate it basically. So that's what I meant. Is that clear?
Yep, it's very clear. But
Okay.
actually, I have another question.
Yeah, go
But
ahead.
but it's not related to the what you're talking about today, but
Okay.
it's related to kind of motions. So like I want to ask you what the tips for our case building if we find emotions that I don't know what type of motions is this, but let's say for example like this what this house would prefer the world without black Spider-Man instead of red Spider-Man, like that kind of things, like related to stuff that actually the opening government could come up with. Like
Can you
what's your
repeat
type?
the half of the motion, the half and prefers the world without what?
The so Spider-Man. So the house would prefer the world without black Spider-Man instead of red Spider-Man. So like as we know, red Spider-Man is like the kind one, and the black Spider-Man is the ones like bad. So what if, let's say, like I don't know what Spider-Man is, or like maybe they're talking about Naruto and stuff like that. Because sometimes I found those kind of motions. Like, do you have any suggestions or tips for that?
I see. Okay, personally, I would avoid competitions that are like, for example, pop culture related because it's for fun. I don't understand because a lot of the times I really don't watch a lot of popular movies. I don't watch Harry Potter. I don't watch a lot of things. So those are the. So I'm gonna tell you this in competitions that are serious and it's good for your growth. A lot of the times, those motions will not appear. 100%, I agree. I think those kind of motions won't appear. So what you're asking is that when we are faced in a cultural motions or pop culture motions or motions that are designed for debate for fun, how are we going to approach that? First is that yeah, personally I don't. If you want to have fun, yeah, sure, but like that's your risk, right? You're going to if you are faced with like for example, competitions that are really like pop cultural and etc. A lot of the times the motion will be confusing and we will discuss about Naruto and all that. So I think that but again, a lot of the times there are also competitions that we don't see this coming, but then at the end of the day, we don't see this coming, but they wanted to incorporate these kind of new movies, right? So what I would do is that number one, directly ask and protest to the ICOR. You need to be very like because this is not a motion that well, I mean like my seminar talks about highly contextual motions that are talking about real things that people can access to, right? If you're talking about red Spider-Man, Black Spider-Man, of course, we don't know that. Not a lot of people know that. So you need to impose a certain standard, or you need to say to the ACOR for them to actually explain both of them. So I think that's on the responsibility of the ACOR, and for you to really just speak up and say that, dude, we don't watch this. You need to make this motion accessible to people. But I think that a good ACOR will make motion accessible because yeah, I see a trend in which that ekor agak so asik ngasih motionnya. Yeah, let's do a Naruto motion. Let's do a Harry Potter motion. If you have a context slide to explain all of that, sure. But a lot of the times we don't know that. We don't watch that. And it's not our obligation because we are already like bombarded by international relations economies like that. So again, I think that you really need to just ask the ACOR kindly and say that please make this accessible and please make this accessible and actually explain more about these things. I hope that actually helps Nadia because for me personally, that two tips still apply. Number one, avoid competitions that will give you very very random motions that are really so basically, there are a lot of like Marvel motions that are related to life. So, for example, I think I saw this motion before, like this house as Thanos would do the do the population cleansing, right? I can debate about that because that actually talks about like um that actually talks about like reducing the population. So this house at Thanos would definitely eliminate half of the population of the world is actually just another wording for this house prefers a world where the population is cut by half. So that's something that is really okay. Philosophically, we can run arguments. Economically, we can run arguments. That's much good. And I think this was commented by Medan Debate Forum. Motions should be accessible. So yeah, I think that's my tip. So if you see a motion, a lot of the times maybe it's Marvel, maybe it's this, but maybe that represents a real issue that you want to know. So the motion needs to do the bridging and provide a lot of like tips and provide facts for us to understand like Black Spider-Man, Red Spider-Man, pros and cons. So push it to the A core and for them to really, understand about that. But yeah, still, if you really want to do serious debating, join competitions that are good in your regions. I think that, yeah, I think in a lot of like in Sumatra, I also a core and I also participated. I don't really find these motions. A lot of the times the motion are accessible and good. So generally, like the majority of the tournaments, if they have a credible A core, they won't do these motions. They won't do motions that does not provide context and is very, very that. I hope that's clear, Nadia.
Yeah, it's really clear. Thank you. Thank
Okay,
you so much.
thank you. Any questions from anyone? If you have, again, maybe like closing or anything. Okay, I'm gonna ask. Okay, I'm gonna answer one by one. Before proceeding, this debating is actually a medium where we are learning, right? So if you want to ask, if you have like, for example, language barrier, you want to be better in English, I saw a lot of people with language barriers also pushing it through and get better day by day. I saw a lot of underprivileged institutions winning in nationals. So that's really, there are no reason for you to not debate. There are so much benefits that comes with it. The community, I have been good friends from the people from the community. I have been traveling the states before COVID, and the people are really really nice, and you get to experience a lot of things. So again, I am promoting varsity debating as an activity. Okay, there are three questions. So first, from Diva Ivana, general, how to face and win one-sided motions. Okay, okay, in politics, yeah. So that's first question. Second is that suggestions on good material sources. Okay. Third is about Florence. Portray the case based on any motion that given. We had to elaborate it and we have to frame it for 30 minutes case building. Under time a lot. Okay. I will deal this question one by one. Um, Material sources. I actually do have student English from ITB provides for a link for the for people like for general public to see. We have a lot of motion. We have a lot of cases, and it is public. And I will find the link, and I hope that I can share to like one of the people from MDF, and I hope they can really distribute it. It's really good because of the material stocks covers from setup from and then a lot of other motions and Kushai VM was really highly invested in it. Rifanis was also like that. I think I will give the motions later from Braden Tan. Besides that, I think material sources, audio text, there are plethora of it. You have playlists, you have like audio podcasts, you have YouTube videos, you have like, yeah, I think that's really recommended. But then again, my method would be, yeah, like I said before, Vox and my friends. Okay, I hope that's clear for Braden. Diva, one-sided motion. Okay, again, as an education core, I served as an A core multiple times. We really do case build a lot in order for us in order for us to not have a one-sided motion. The A core works really hard to not have a one-sided motion. So I think that maybe it's more intuitive for you to argue as government, but you need to be very neutral. Basically, the step by step is that when you see a motion, you don't say to yourself that this is one sided or it's easier for you to do government, right? You really need to be open for, case building. And you really need to also say that, you know, yeah, I think we can do this motion. So I think the mentality of it needs to be really good, and you can, for example, approach this by saying, little by little, okay, let's do an actor analysis. Just do the logical thinking way. and you're not going to be like, for example, bombarded by sayings that, it's really going to be hard, I'm not going to win, it's very, very one-sided. Trust me, credible adjudicators have case built it before you case build. A lot of the times it's not one-sided. Maybe it's less intuitive, but at the end of the day, if you know much and if you have airtime in debate, a lot of the times the less intuitive becomes intuitive. So yeah, have the faith in the ACOR, especially if the ACOR is credible and they have won multiple national and international tournaments. So yeah, in picking a competition, you have to be very careful. And this is quite blunt. If you see, like, for example, you need to see who are the education core. If they're really good, probably they're going to invite their friends who are also really good. You also need to see the scope of the tournament and all that. Yeah, that's really important. Okay. Florence, Jamie. Okay, yeah. Bang Hotma, I will give the link to WA. Everyone, please fill the attendance, as I will also still continue the question. Okay, Florence, Aulia. How do we portray a case based on an emotion given? We have to elaborate, we have to frame it for 30 minutes for a 7-minute speech. Under time is something that is human. Wait. A lot of the times I also do under times, like in my first year of debating. But a lot of the times it's really easy for elaboration because there are so many angles to a debate. You can do new arguments, you can do new rebuttals. I think that tomorrow Bio Antika will share tips on rebuttals. I think that a lot of the times, if second speaker does not have any materials, fill it with rebuttal. It's definitely much okay. You can. There are a lot of angles, basically, additional context, additional motion, additional a parallel example, rebuttal, comparative. So much to do in 7 minutes. After understanding debate, usually I overtime and I have too much things to say. So those are the things that you can use. New cases, new arguments. Just don't be that stiff. Like, for example, don't be that afraid for giving bad argumentation. Like, bad argumentation will not be credited as a minus. Like, maybe at best it's not gonna be counted, but at the end of the day, it's not gonna be as bad, and it's not gonna be as risk. So just like, yeah, it's a learning experience. You have probably 30 competitions that you can try in a year. One competition, one round from one competition does not kill you if you do bad arguments. Experiment, have fun in debating. I do like to experiment a lot of unorthodox ways to actually challenge people. If you have the right delivery and if you're very convincing, whatever you're going to say is going to stick with the judge. A lot of the times I'm not necessarily sure about my ideas and it's very unorthodox, but when I deliver it, again, speech is also debate is a very performative art. If you have the right manner and if you're very convincing, probably the judge will buy that. There are a lot of experiences where I give like speeches that I'm not confident with, but I fake it and the judge actually bought it. So yeah, that can definitely help you. I hope next time you don't under time. Jamie and Garitza. Okay, so Jamie asked, would it be effective to bring up the argument that as a minority we should strive better recognition? Yes, Jamie, this is about the motion. It's not far off topic. It's one of the things that I also do. So this is actually a BP topic, the BP motion. So there are like probably 8 to 10 arguments for opening and closing. As a minority, we should strive for better recognition instead of just settling with a month. Yes, you can do that. If opening already did all of my arguments, closing bring a new identity, talk about the argument, sure. That's not off topic to answer. Again, don't be that strict about like, giving argumentation, experiment, have fun, slay. Gaitsa, framing, because many debaters that I met said my framing is very important. Yes, it is. Do you have any tips for good framing? All of the materials that I gave talks about framing, but yeah, I think that wait. I will give okay, so besides like the PowerPoint that I give to you, there are a lot of things that I can say about framing. So intonation, performative, um, convincing the people, and oh yeah, I think one of the things that I haven't done yet was structure. So for me back then, it was really hard for me to excel, but at the very least, I can deliver a speech very structured. Um, Structured means that I do a lot of numberings for my speech, and I force to actually have boxes for everything. Framing is a mix between structure, the like, for example, step by step, the link back, the yeah, all of those kind of things. It's really important. So that's probably my tip. Yeah. Besides the PowerPoint that I give to you, I think that's all the questions. So basically, when I saw the calendar, Bioantika will give the tips about rebuttal. Please do attend because she's an amazing debater. She has the record of being the first ever Sumatran to reach national finals. She's smart and she also answers question really well. I really hope you will learn a lot of things from her. Yeah, I also hope that you learn things from this seminar. If there are anything, I think closing the seminar, I hope that I didn't offend anything. If I have very high on intonation and like that, yeah, that's me. This is me. I hope that this will help you. I do promote varsity. I do promote parliamentary debating. It will help you excel in life and in a lot of things. You will meet amazing people. You will get projects from government and even non-governments. I promote this, and this will be a good thing, a good a good activity on your CV. Yeah. Okay, I give back to Stephanie. Thank you very much.
Terima kasih Sir Majid buat ilmu-ilmunya, dan terima kasih buat teman-teman yang sudah bertanya. Selanjutnya saya ingin menyampaikan bahwa MDF juga menyelenggarakan 3 event baru. Saudari Sandra, bisa ditampilkan slide-nya? Saudari Sandra?
Mungkin screen-nya Kak Kindi bisa ditutup dulu mungkin supaya bisa masuk screen-nya Sandra.
Okay, sorry.
Oke, teman-teman. Jadi event yang pertama, yaitu Medan Debate Academy episode ketiga, diselenggarakan hari Sabtu 3 April 2021 pukul 1 siang sampai 2 siang melalui Zoom meeting, dan pendaftaran tidak dikenakan biaya, jadi gratis teman-teman. Dan bagi peserta akan mendapatkan e-sertifikat. Lalu event yang kedua, Lomba Debat Bahasa Indonesia Daring Nasional. Diselenggarakan hari Sabtu dan Minggu, tanggal 19 sampai 20 Juni 2021. Lalu dilaksanakan secara daring melalui Zoom dan Discord. Dan jumlah peserta 40 tim, pesertanya mahasiswa D3, D4, S1 seluruh Indonesia. Dan ada 2 fase pendaftaran. Fase pertama, tanggal 20 Maret 2021 sampai 31 Maret 2021 untuk 10 tim pendaftar pertama dan dikenakan biaya 270.000. Dan fase pendaftaran kedua tanggal 1 April sampai 17 Juni 2021 dikenakan biaya Rp300.000. Event yang ketiga ada Reality Matters episode kedua tanggal hari Minggu 28 Maret 2021 pukul 4 sore sampai 5 sore, platform Zoom meeting, tidak dikenakan biaya pendaftaran, dan bagi peserta juga mendapatkan e-sertifikat. Jadi bagi teman-teman yang berminat untuk bergabung dalam event-event ini, boleh mendaftar melalui link-link yang sudah tertera di poster masing-masing eventnya tadi, teman-teman. Boleh di-screenshot bagi yang berminat. Apakah sudah selesai, teman-teman? Oke, baik. Mungkin itu saja yang dapat saya sampaikan. Demikianlah acara kita pada hari ini. Saya ucapkan terima kasih kepada Sir Majid selaku Menteri, Presiden MDF kita Sir Hotman, terima kasih Sir, dan juga terima kasih untuk teman-teman volunteer dan terutama para peserta yang hadir pada malam hari ini. Saya selaku moderator mohon maaf jika ada salah kata maupun tindakan-tindakan saya yang kurang berkenan, maaf. Terima kasih banyak, selamat malam semuanya.
Terima kasih Stephanie. Thank you very much Kak Kindi. Thank you for all participants. Okay, see you in the class.